The vision of the Nigerian founding fathers before independence and after the negotiation of Nigeria's independence was to make Nigeria a great nation, a nation full of milk and honey, a country which would compete with countries of the world and other world powers. However, the current situation of the country has thrown many into great despair as they believe that the vision for a better Nigeria by their founding fathers is unrealizable with the challenges facing the country.
We've lost our value, we've lost our culture, we've lost who we are, and actually that is the basis of the problem. I believe if you go back to the basis, let's look at our culture. It's not all aspects of our culture that is bad. Look at the good aspect of the culture, most especially those that are training us, that give us the concept of Omoluabi. Look at this, let's propagate it everywhere, in the mosque, in the church, in the Leorisha. And the problem is that because in those days when I was growing up, people were not laying emphasis on money, but today it's money because people want to ride big cars. No, that's not going to give us joy. What will give us joy is to see us developing.
Despite the obstacles and challenges, Nigeria still remains an ideal laboratory in which African politics and development are to be studied. This is because Nigeria is the most populated and richest country in Africa and the most stable political institution in the continent. Meanwhile, the quest for a better Nigeria has been on for years as Nigerians from across the country are lamenting the hardship in the land, crying out for urgent measures by the government at all levels to mitigate their suffering, which they said was becoming intolerable, noting that Nigeria was never left in the hands of the current leaders in this dastardly situation. According to a stakeholder in the fight against corruption and mismanagement of public funds, Mr. Ademola Bakari, to overcome the challenges that hinder Nigeria's progress, the Nigerian government must be accountable and consider the majority's interest as its primary aim, create employment opportunities for the youth, and also facilitate different developmental projects which would help in the area of infrastructural development and help boost the nation's economy.
We don't have a single problem, so you can't have a single solution. There's not going to be any one size fit it all solution. And if we are expecting a big bang solution to our problems, something that will just happen and solve all our problems, then we will be deceiving ourselves. There will be varieties of things that we will do to resolve our problem. Is it the security problem that we are talking about? Is it the economic problem that we are talking about? Is it the attitudinal and behavioral problem that we have in Nigeria that we are talking about? So, behavioral problem that we have in attitudinal problem that we have in Nigeria, you take behavioral and attitudinal change solution to that. If you are talking about the economic, crisis that we have in Nigeria, you will even break it down. Is it the unemployment that you are talking about, or is it the mismanagement of the resources that we are talking about? So you need to provide solution to each of the problems that we have in the country.
Speaking in separate interviews on the quest for a better Nigeria, public affairs analysts including Professor Oladejo Afolayan, Professor Adisa Ogunfolakon, and Dr. Adeolo Afolami maintain that there is need for the government to revitalize the health and education sectors, protect the lives and properties of the citizenry, reform and restructure the economy, implement masses-friendly policies, ensure transparency and accountability, prioritize majorities' interests over minorities, protect the interests of minority groups, create job opportunities, and allow youth to participate in politics. They noted that the Nigerian government has numerous duties towards its citizens, with the protection of lives and property as a primary duty. It is also the duty and responsibility of the government to build and provide social amenities, provide jobs and employment, as well as cater for the basic needs of its citizens.
We have to mobilize the youth, we have to encourage them, because the future of this country actually lies in their hand. So whatever can be done by way of educating them, by way of encouraging them, by way of giving them the kind of support system that they need, we have to do it. Your generation, their generation, those young men and women sitting down there, they are the people who are going to take us from where we are to where we ought to be.
The youth believe they know, but you can't know more than your father, because your father came to the world before you. So that's where the problem is. Proper enlightenment, proper education. When the society enlightens them and educates them and engage them constructively, they will see their folly. A student cannot know more than his teacher, because it is the teacher that will still teach you and tell you what to read, how to read it, and set the question. He can only be impressed by the way you answer the question and say, you passed 100%. But he has a prerogative to say your 100% is -2. Emi mo ni 2 ori. You understand this? So these are the things that I've seen about the youth. They assume that they need to engage on social media. Meanwhile, what is on social media? If when a blind man is also writing on social media, a blind man is also reading it on social media and agreeing that the blind man on the social media is more enlightened than him, it is not. It is not. But our elders have not been engaging us.
They warned that failure to genuinely tackle the myriad of difficulties and deprivation the citizens are suffering could inflict dire consequences on the country in no time. Oluwatobiloba Odunuga for Dateline.